My guest, Oliver, great to have you on the show. How are you?
Jim, how you doing? Thanks for the vine, and I'm very pleased to be in the jungle.
I can't tell you how happy I am to have you, Oliver. Thank you so much. I mean, what a great story you guys are. You come into the season unranked. Most publications had you finishing either 8th or 9th in the conference, so clearly everybody who was supposed to know had no idea how good you guys were. Did you yourself have any idea what your kids had?
Well, I thought we could be pretty good. We thought we really could be special last year, and we lost James Mays, of course, at mid-year, and it's been real well chronicled that, James Mays hadn't lost a game he started in for, 29 or 30 games. And, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good player. And the fact that we had experience back, our senior point guard, Vernon Hamilton, is one of our captains. A junior two-guard, Cliff Hammonds, is the other. And we have Sam Perry as a junior. And then K.C. Rivers, who had an outstanding freshman year, returns as our leading scorer as a sophomore. And really the only question mark was whether we could get some production out of our young kids. And Trevor Booker, our freshman center, or our front line player, has been just so solid for us. I thought we could be, pretty good. But certainly I would not have guessed we'd be sitting here at 17-0.
Clemson head coach Oliver Purnell is my guest. Pretty heady stuff, so I wonder, what do you tell your players? Do you say, hey, listen, go with it, enjoy it? Do you play it up? Or do you find yourself kind of checking the kids and saying, don't get too caught up?
No, certainly the first thing that you mentioned, we say enjoy it, embrace it, but yet at the same time, stay grounded and understand the reason you're undefeated, the reason you're ranked, the reason that you've set a school record for the best start ever, all those kinds of things happen because we work very hard. We prepare for each opponent. We've understood who we are, a team that plays hard and plays smart and thinks team, and don't get away from that. If you get away from that, this thing ends pretty quickly because of the league that we're in. But if you stay with that, it's possible for it to go on and on because, we're 17-0 at this point for a reason.
Clemson is 17-0 and they're ranked 14th in the coaches poll. Coming into the season, you wanted to take the next step. You wanted to get into the NCAA tournament and then see what happens. But because you're out so quickly, have you readjusted your goals or maybe your perspective of this year and this team?
Not really. It's very difficult to get to the tournament from our league. I think our league is the strength of it and what we go through in terms of competition is we don't get enough credit for it when it comes selection time, and so it's tough to get to the NCAA from our league, and that's a heck of a goal is to get there. But I think once you get there out of the ACC, because of the rigors that you've had to go through, you have a chance to do something special, particularly if you can go into the tournament on a roll. So our goal is still to get to the tournament. That's our long-term goal. Short-term goal is to beat Maryland. And these guys have done a great job of really focusing on that short-term goal, that next opponent. And I think we have to do that in the ACC because if you start looking down the line, you may get a little afraid. And these guys aren't scared. They respect our opponents. They respect our league. But yet they go into each and every game with an expectation that we can win.
You mentioned Maryland because you've got them Saturday, and then you've got Carolina on next Wednesday. You talk about the ACC. I heard Seth Greenberg say this a couple of days ago, and it seemed to make sense. What are you going to do? I mean, when you're in that conference, realistically, you can't think to yourself, we're going to win the conference or maybe even come in second. I mean, certainly it's a good goal. But do you think you want to finish in the upper half or maybe the top 5 and just get in the tournament? Is that a more realistic way of looking at it?
Well, it should be. I mean, any team that finishes in the top half of our league should be in the tournament. I mean, come on. You're telling me if you finish in the top half of the ACC, you're not one of the top 64 teams in the country. That's ludicrous. But really, I think our approach is the best way in terms of just think about beating that next opponent because, we started off with 3 out of 4 on the road. And again, if you start thinking down the line and counting up whether we win this game, that game, and finish second or finish first or whatever, I think it's a trap because it's a marathon, particularly with the number of teams that are in the league now, and they're all good. It's a marathon and not a sprint. You're gonna have some ups and downs. You're gonna beat up on each other. and you've got to focus in if you lost 2 in a row, you've got to focus in the same as if you've won 2 in a row, and look at that next game. If you do that, you got a chance, to kind of handle the schedule as opposed to the conference eating you up.
Clemson is at Maryland on Saturday. Of course, Oliver, you were an assistant at Maryland in the mid-1980s when Len Bias was there, and of course he died tragically. It's been a little over 20 years. Can you take me back? Can you talk about what kind of a guy Len Bias was, and then how special a player and talent he was?
Well, he was a special young man as well as an unbelievable talent. I think that he's one of the best to ever play college basketball. I think he would have been an all-time all-star at the NBA level. And of course, the Boston Celtics. It took him a long time to recover from losing a Len Bias. But he was the kind of young man that spent hours in the gym. Even though he had God-given talent and unbelievable basketball body, he spent hours and hours in the gym. Then he'd go to a weight room, he'd go home, come back, play pickup games, and he really had a dream, and he really focused on it. And he was a guy that very popular, everyone liked, and really had the reputation of a guy that trained and clean living and all of those kinds of things. Kind of had it all going for him.
I mean, you wonder, you hear that especially, it makes it even tougher to accept and even to believe. Was it just one bad night? I mean, exactly what happened?
Well, obviously, I'm not sure, what happened, but as the story goes, he came back after being drafted by the Boston Celtics. On draft day, how you walk across stage and do the whole thing with the on draft day, went up to see the Celtics brass and meet with them and do some press up in Boston, flew back and met up with a so-called friend of his. They went out partying that night in D.C., ended up back at his apartment, and basically took cocaine and died. And as you said, it's very tragic. But I think if kids understand that here's a young man with unbelievable special talent. If cocaine can kind of take him away, and the evils of drugs can take him away, it certainly can take anybody else away. But he was special, and because he chose, not to really honor his talent, it cost him. And I think the message to young people is to honor your talent and understand you are special and try to make decisions accordingly.
Sure. Clemson head coach Oliver Purnell joining us. One final thought. You've been around the game your whole life. Talk about the experience with USA Basketball. You were an assistant coach of the Olympic team that went to Athens back in 2004. What about the experience of working alongside Larry Brown and with NBA players? What did you take from that?
Well, I've been so fortunate with so many great experiences involving basketball. None better than being an assistant on the Olympic team with Larry Brown, and my fellow assistants were Greg Popovich and Roy Williams, and what a staff. And we really were together for 2 summers because we coached that qualifying team of which we only had 2 players come back from the next year to go to the Olympics. But it was a great experience overall. Obviously, we would have loved to have brought back the gold. We brought back the bronze. I was very proud of the guys in a tough situation to go in that bronze medal game and win that over Lithuania. But there are a lot of reasons that we didn't get it, and I'm sure you've talked about many of them on your program. But what a great learning experience it was for me to work with Larry Brown and company, but also to be able to represent your country in the Olympics. That's an unbelievable experience, and one in which I will always cherish.
And Clemson out quickly, 17-0, 3-0, ranked 14th in the coaches poll. Next up, a major challenge. Maryland on Saturday. Oliver, great job. Great to have you on the show. Good luck. Let's do it again soon.
Jim, talk to you.
Good job, Oliver. You too. I mean, what a great story. Ranked in the top 20 for the first time in 8 years. Picked by most to finish 8th or 9th in the conference. You may ask yourself, why are they only ranked 14th? They're 17-0. They were on rank coming in. And as good as they look, we're going to have a real good idea where they are about a week from right now. Maryland on Saturday, top-ranked Carolina next Wednesday.